Welcome everyone to ESPN's coverage of US soccer. It is presented by Volkswagen. Coming to you live from Pratt & Whitney Stadium in East Hartford for this send-off game for the US women's national team as they prepare to head to the 2020 Tokyo Olympics. Today, hosting Mexico as we welcome you into the commentary booth. I'm Adrian Healy with the US Soccer Hall of Famer, Julie Foudy. Welcome on board, everyone. Julie, you've been in this position before on the cusp of a big international tournament. What's the most important thing for the US players tonight?
Well, first of all, you've got excitement oozing out of you. It's like, oh my gosh, let's get this party started. But they're also thinking details. It's all down. The devil's in the details. Fine-tuning, polishing, making sure they're paying attention to the smallest of things and taking care of those things. And chemistry and confidence. This is their chance. They finally have that Olympic roster set. And lastly, in the back of your mind is that slight reminder, like, stay healthy and get to Tokyo.
Players are on their way out. Big crowd, festive atmosphere, looking to give them the right send-out. Walking out with today's US national team captain is Champ, a custom telepresence robot created by VW. Champ is revolutionizing the player honoree experience by providing virtual access for children who are otherwise unable to participate in person due to challenging circumstances or hardships. Volkswagen and US Soccer share a goal to help drive access and inclusivity in the sport, and this program epitomizes what it truly means to drive bigger.
And a huge shout out to today's honoree, Chisi from Gardena, California. Chisi's 8 years old and a huge fan of the women's national team. We are honored to have Chisi join us today, thanks to Champ, giving fans like her this amazing experience, even from miles away.
The countdown to kick-off will continue here for the send-off series with the two national anthems, beginning with the Mexican national anthem.
Ladies and gentlemen, please rise and remove your hats for the playing of the national anthem of Mexico. Welcome 98-year-old World War II veteran Pete Dupre.
Harmonica Pete Dupre. Really very special indeed. It is the send-off for the US women's national team, the team news, and the first half kickoff just around the corner. Welcome back, everyone. Pratt & Whitney Stadium, a festive atmosphere here for the US and Mexico going against each other for the second time in 4 days. Julie, 4 changes for Mexico from the team that lost 4-0 on Thursday night.
Yeah, whether they go with a 4-4-2, a 4-2-3-1, we'll see. Itzel Gonzalez in goals, Reina Reyes on that right side, Farrell in that center back position, and one change on the right side, Gonzalez in midfield, and Stephanie Mayor leading that line up front.
Monica Vergara named the Mexican head coach just earlier this year. What of the US? Last chance for Vlatko Andonovski to send them out. 3 changes from Thursday night.
Yeah, and Nair in the back 4 the same. Rose Lavelle in for Christy Mewis. Lloyd in for Morgan. And of course, Tobin Heath sliding in her first start since November.
And what a welcome return that is for Vlatko Andonovski. As the curtain comes up for the last time, the final dress rehearsal, next stop, Tokyo. And a huge crowd here. We're told over 26,000 in East Hartford to try and send them on their way in the right style. An early appeal for a handball, as Lindsay Horan immediately popped up in the centre forward channel. Tobin Heath. Horan straying offside. Interesting, Julie, to see Lindsay Horan so far forward to start off with.
Vlatko Andonovski talking about one of the details he wanted to get to in this game is trying different scenarios. So in this first 5 to 10 minutes, going into a 3-3-4, really attacking, sending Horan into a double 9 position. It looks like she's the one who's going to go up front. Donna's going to pop into midfield as you see her there. And this is the scenario as if they're a goal down.
Goal down with like 5 minutes to play, wasn't it?
Exactly.
It's almost practicing an emergency situation early on, and why not? Perfect opportunity to do so. Crystal Dunn, you mentioned her, Julie, playing a little further forward in this setup. Of course, is very much the starting left back. Here's Maria Sanchez trying to make waves for Mexico. And you noted, Julie, they did give the US some problems on Thursday night down this side of the field.
Yeah, Maria Sanchez in particular, Lopez as well from that left back position already. Some success on that left side. We'll be paying attention to that. And especially as they're in this opened up scenario, really pushing high, trying to pretend, because this is the time to do it, where you have to polish all these scenarios out there, have another at the end of the game as if they're holding on to a 1-0 lead. But here they're pretending like they're trying to get a goal back.
Rose Lavelle is back, as is Tobin Heath. She didn't take long to announce her return, did she? 52 seconds on Thursday night. And about 35 yards from goal.
And literally when you talk to players, you talk to Vlatko, the word they use for that return for Tobin Heath, and essentially her first touch back onto the field and scoring was so Tobin, and how insane that she's just where she left off, even though she hasn't played since November for the national team of 2020.
That's Kristen Press, who continues to wear the changed number, of course. So all the US players wearing their Olympic numbers here today. Press's service. Dunn trying to rekindle the attack. Becky Sauerbrand able to reset for Dunn. And now Tobin Heath popping up on the left-hand side. Lindsay Horan is still up there as a centre forward. Little chip over the top. And this could be interesting. Stephanie Mayor, the most experienced player for the Mexicans, cutting inside, trying to get on the left foot. And it's Alyssa Mayer, the Connecticut native, who has to make the first save of the game.
And And this is exactly the challenge that Wlachowicz wants to see how the U.S. is going to handle, because of course when you're pressing in that scenario of 3-3-4, you leave yourself a little bit exposed in the back for those type of situations, and how the U.S. is going to handle them as well.
Stephanie Mayor, 86 caps and 15 goals, scored a goal 10 years ago at the 2011 World Cup. But it's generally a very young Mexican team. Mayor is one of the main exceptions to that rule. Kristen Press sticking tight to Jimena Lopez on this near side. Here's Monica Vergara, just the 5th coach in the history of the Mexican program. And the first woman was Leonardo Cuellar, who was in charge for close to 20 years. Mexico ranked at number 28 at the moment in the world, according to FIFA, and of course are starting to build for the next World Cup. It's a good-looking service. Oh, and well, the flag came up, wouldn't have counted.
Such a high line for the United States. You can see how high they are. Staying to that line is sometimes hard, well offside. But there is that tendency when you're that high to want to drop early, and you keep everyone onside. Good job by the United States holding that line.
Well, they had to exhibit some patience here on Thursday night. First 15-20 minutes certainly didn't go all the US's way. But now here's Lindsey Horan! Well, that's the way! No patience required, 4 days on. Lift off for Lindsey Horan, and the big crowd here getting exactly what they came for.
Perfectly to plan the double 9 with the 2 forwards, one to the other. A little layoff by Horan, making that run off of Carly Lloyd, and the patience by Horan to let this ball drop and just strike it so cleanly. What a great finish. Perfectly on point with what the United States wanted to play with this scenario. Down a goal, they press in that first 5, and there it is.
Fabulous finish from Horan. Horan and Lloyd combining, interestingly, the only 2 players to have appeared in all 11 games that now make that 12 this calendar year for the US women.
Immediately Horan drops into that 6, so now they'll go back into that 4-3-3. They played through that scenario with Horan in the 6 holding. Again, Julie Ertz out with that knee injury still. Wlachowicz said she has been training and cutting and playing, but without contact. You know, there's a lot of fans out there eager to see her back in the mix. So that is good news, that she is indeed playing, striking balls.
Is it going to be tough, though, Julie? I have to ask you for Julie Ertz.
You know what? I had said it's going to be tough for Tobin Heath, and look how that turned out in their first game back, right? Yeah, yes, it is always tough to come off an injury like that, but look at the situation for Tobin Heath. And there's Julie Ertz watching. Tobin Heath hadn't played a game since her club game with Manchester United in December 20th, 2020. So a good 6 months, Adrian, and she looked sharp. And by all accounts, those.
Kristen Press, meanwhile, making further inroads.
By all accounts, those training with her say she is sharp. And here's another look at that goal. Kelly O'Hara with the ball in to Carly Lloyd, and that's just a beauty by Horan. The timing of the run to stay on side, Lloyd recognizing she's coming through, and then the finish. Fans may remember she also, Lindsey Horan, in that 9 position, familiar, played there with youth national team, so she has played in that target forward position, so it's very natural for her to pop into that 9.
Yeah. The instinct to know exactly where Lloyd was going to put that header, didn't she? And what a finish to go with it. Poise and confidence to go with the technique. And goal number 22 for her, so no stranger to goal scoring. Wearing the US colours. She's getting close to breaching the 100 cap mark. She will do so in the second game in the Olympics if she's involved in both of the openers.
What a tremendous 2021, 2020 for Lindsey Horan. I mean, it's stepping into that 6 role. One of the criticisms in the past has been really there's not a lot of depth in that holding midfield role if Julie Ertz is to get hurt. Of course, that scenario played out, but Horan has done a fantastic job of stepping in there.
It's Nancy Antonio stepping in there for Mexico to try and win the ball back. Goalkeeper is Itzel Gonzalez, a change for them from Thursday night. And look at Megan Rapido and Alex Morgan looking at the photos.
It's a nice bench to turn to, right?
Yeah.
Looking over their set plays and pieces.
Crystal Dunn exciting the crowd with her wing play and getting the cross in. Rose Lavelle was, I think, the intended target there. It's Horan who picks it up. Nice layoff from Mewis. Back to Dunn. And the diving header! Well, it's already showtime for the Stars and Stripes. Carly Lloyd. She can't stop scoring, and neither can the US.
First, the United States comes with 4 forwards. Mexico probably thinking, what has been hit? But it's Sam Mewis in that seam, trying to get higher, finding a little space. And then, of course, Carly Lloyd is not going to miss from this range. No one marking her on that back post. Too many runners in that box for Mexico to deal with. Too many players. And Lloyd from that range, you know it's going to be good.
Carly Lloyd, who'd already claimed the title of the oldest goal scorer in US Women's National Team program history. She's continuing to add to her tally. And really looking sharp and in the mood now. Tobin Heath's pass is a delight, and press has made it 3. And already the US in steamroller mode. Not sure it's going to count. Actually see the flag come up, but referee coming across to have a word.
Onside from that view.
Yep. Well, there is no VAR. It's weird, Julie. Didn't actually see a flag go up, but referee Danielle Chesky came across to the assistant referee on the near side. Still some confusion. Of course, the crowd are chanting VAR, but that is,
suddenly everyone wants VAR after all the complaints.
it's funny how quickly sentiment can change, isn't it? But, well, Kristen Press, I think, is going to be denied what would have been a really well-worked goal.
Beautifully worked sequence. And such good news beyond Press playing well, Horan as we've talked about, but to get Tobin Heath and Rose Lavelle back in the same game. Rose Lavelle been out the last 2 games with that ankle injury, but 2 of your most creative players and game changers on the roster back in that starting 11 is quite a boost for the United States heading over to Tokyo.
O'Hara to Lavelle, who just missed a couple of games. As I said, Julie getting injured in the second game of the summer series. Remember, they played 2 games in Houston, 1 in Austin, and Lavelle was injured in the second of those games, missed the Austin game, missed the first game here, but back in the fold. Away from Reina Reyes. Press anticipating, couldn't quite corral the ball effectively. And now Sanchez. Palacios to Nancy Antonio. Let's go try and build down the right. A lot of US collegiate products sprinkled throughout the Mexican national team squad.
And a lot of youth as well. Average age of the Mexican roster, 23 years old. Average age for the US roster, 30.8 years old. Oldest player on Mexico, 29-year-old Bianca Sierra. Half of the US women's team is older than Bianca Sierra.
Yeah, it's quite the disparity, isn't it? As Bernal wins that for La Tri.
I think you said earlier, Adrian, Monica Vergara, their first female head coach for Mexico.
Yeah. It's a good run from Maria Sanchez. A no-nonsense challenge from Kelly O'Hara, though.
Vergara, the coach of many youth national teams with Mexico. And so bringing that youth into this full squad as well.
Yeah, they've missed out on the Olympics. They've missed out on their third consecutive major tournament. That was a long reach there for Carly Lloyd. She couldn't quite get on the end of it.
What a great first 15, though, for the United States. Dunn so active on that left side. That ball into Carly Lloyd was the second goal. Trying to find her in the seam here again.
Press to Lavelle. US to O'Hara. Almost perfect conditions here. Just a little east of the Connecticut River in East Hartford. It's almost become a home away from home for the US women over the last decade and a half. It's actually the 9th time they've played here at this stadium.
Great day for soccer.
Yeah, perfect conditions.
Gorgeous out.
Mid-80s.
A little warm for my liking, though, Adrian. I like it about 70, 75. As I get older, 65.
Yeah. Well, we are lucky enough to have the perfect vantage point. A little cooler up on high here, looking down at.
Yeah, so nice just to be in the stadium with fans calling a game live. Ah, beautiful.
We believe those fans are going to smash the attendance record here tonight for the US women's game. Told to expect north of 26,000.
So interested in this pairing on the right-hand side with Rose Lavelle and Tobin Heath, as we talked about, two of their most creative players, but two that really haven't gotten a lot of time together in this last year.
Lavelle. Lopez able to retrieve for Mexico. There's Rose Lavelle again. It was a frustrating year in many ways for Rose Lavelle, wasn't it, with the move to Manchester City and just injury problems bedeviling her.
Yeah, I think that's the one issue with Rose Lavelle. So much talent and upside, just durability is always the question mark. But boy, when she is playing, this is a player you want on the field. But she did say that Man City experience taught her a lot. The adversity of having to, get on the field and play in different positions and wide and different roles. I think all good for a young player.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting, isn't it? There were 6 US players playing over in England at various stages of last year. But 5 of them have since returned. Only Abby Dalkemper is still signed to Manchester City.
That's them looking at the I bet. That's them looking at the third goal going,
yeah.
She was 2 yards onside. You saw that look on Zlatko Andonovski's face.
Well, he knew it. I think the players instinctively knew it as well, didn't they? But it seems to be a case where the referee, Danielle Chesky, actually overruled the assistant on the near side, who I'm convinced did not put her flag up, but maybe there's pictures that will tell me otherwise. Kristen Press dropping deep to try and spark the playmaking. Tobin Heath on the cusp of what will be her 4th Olympics for her and Carly Lloyd. They both started their Olympic journey in 2008. It's a lovely through ball to Tobin Heath, and it was a fair challenge, deemed to be so by referee Danielle Chesky, as Heath was sent sprawling. Jocelyn Ottahel.
Again, Sam Mewis in that little seam, finding the thread ball. Clearly a penalty kick from that angle. Yes, there's another missed call. They're seeing it on the replay screen here in the stadium. So possibly 4-0.
A lot of people get fooled by the getting of the ball first by the defender, Julie. It doesn't necessarily matter, does it? In terms of the letter of the law. Dalkemper, ambitious long ball. Finds Tobin Heath. She will get that decision.
You know what she's going to be saying to her right now. You call that one, huh? Tobin very active and sharp with her runs. Constantly looking to get in behind, stretching that back line.
She had to have real perseverance, didn't she, through an ankle injury and a knee injury, to leave Manchester and come back to LA to rehab. So there was a moment of grieving where she thought there was no way she was going to make it.
Yeah, and understandably so. I mean, we'll talk about it after this.
And it comes, only half away, and well, goalkeeper Itzel Gonzalez redeemed herself with a splendid save. Her first punch only as far as Lavelle was almost punished.
Couldn't get enough on it with the punch, puts it down to Lavelle. But Gonzalez does get back across to make that good save.
Press short to Dalkemper. Now O'Hara's cross! And Itzel Gonzalez. In the midst of some heavy traffic, there was an offside flag up this time. Gonzalez wasn't to know that. Had to be brave.
He got the wind knocked out of her there. Going back to Tobin Heath. Here is a look at it. Another really good ball in by O'Hara, but terrible marking by Mexico. Look at that back post. Just Carly Lloyd, you know how good she is in the air. Looks like she might have got a knee coming off of Lloyd right there. Ouch. But needs to be better in the box for Mexico, because U.S. will punish you if you are not picking up in the box like that. Going back to Tobin, it's interesting. I talked to her on the third, and the first thing she said is, I feel really good. I want to make as many mistakes as possible in the next 3 weeks.
Yeah, love that. Get all your mistakes out now.
Yeah. It's like perfectly Tobin. I want to make as many mistakes as possible. And she said, it was so hard because I did grieve thinking I wasn't going to get back. And then I thought, I'm going to commit everything, every second, check every box, leave no stone unturned in getting back. And again, by all accounts, Rockco and players, she is fit, she looks great, and she's feeling great, most importantly.
Carly Lloyd trying to get there. And it needed more diligent defensive work from Ottahel. We've reached the Euro 2020 semis. Tomorrow we'll have the first game between Italy and Spain. Wednesday, England takes on Denmark. Our coverage of both starting at 2:30 Eastern, 11:30 Pacific on ESPN. Also available on the app. Kristen Press, who's been in such splendid form, still up for grabs, won't sit up there for Carly Lloyd. Crystal Dunn back to take control of the situation. Sam Lewis latching onto the loose ball. Dahlkemper to Kelly O'Hara. Just arrived a little too hot for Samantha Mewis to be able to react.
Boy, is this going to be a long 90 minutes for Mexico in this heat with them chasing as much as they are. As much as they get the opportunity to play. Too many technical mistakes and giving away the ball too easily.
And you just saw a little look there at what is lying in wait for them as well. The likes of Megan Rapinoe and Alex Morgan warming up. Chance for Alonson Gonzalez to push forward. She's actually the scorer of the last Mexican goal, which came earlier on in June, a 5-1 loss in Japan. Gonzalez is only 19. She's part of an under-17 squad for Monica Vergara, who perhaps Mexico's best ever moments.
Yeah.
Made an under-17 World Cup final, didn't they, in Uruguay?
Yeah, lost to Spain 2-1. 4 of those players Vergara brought up to this roster.
Well, decide to keep it on the ground this time for Reyes. And they're going to get another set piece to work with, this time a free kick conceded by Carly Lloyd.
This is one of the things that Vlatko Andonovski loves in Carly Lloyd, is her work on the defensive side of the ball. A little bit unlucky there. But the first one to come out, pressure that ball.
So Alyssa Naya will dial up a 4 in the wall. It's a good 30 yards for goal. It looks like it's going to be the left-footed shot, and Naya happy just to watch that clear the crossbar, but not by a great deal. Not a bad effort by Maria Sanchez. ESPN's coverage of US soccer presented by the all-new, all-electric Volkswagen ID4. And really fabulous to have you on board the end of this holiday weekend. Hope everyone had a great 4th of July. A big crowd here. Adrian Healy and Julie Foudy in amongst them, looking to give the US the right sort of send-off.
Yeah, and as much as the fans want that third goal by Press and the penalty kick to Tobin Heath, I think it actually serves the U.S. better in a closer game, of course. 2-0, you get to work on set ball situations offensively, defensively. Again, everything down to these fine details. And you want this game to be a game so that you can test out some of these things and scenarios.
First game at the Olympics, just 16 days away. That's nicely worked. Sam Mewis had opened up for the shots. Just leading back a little.
Right idea all around, and great ball movement by the United States. Crisp little sharp passes and angles. And you can see what Sam Mewis is trying to do. Just didn't pull it off technically.
Mewis from pretty much just up the road from here, Hanson, Massachusetts, probably about 50 miles, a little less.
Still pressing, Tobin Heath with the press. Carly Lloyd coming over to help her, wins the ball back for the United States.
O'Hara. Tobin Heath trying to escape the clutches of Jimena Lopez. And something else she said in your interview with her, Julie, stood out, the fact that she knows what is required to play in a big tournament. Just knew what it was going to take as it sits up again for Mewis. Because the physical challenge of playing in an Olympics is, what, it's 6 games in 17 days, isn't it?
Yeah, 6 games in 17 days. 2 days off in between all games only, except for that final. And there is Sam Mewis's sister, Christy Mewis. 30-year-old older sister, lone player on this 18-player roster that didn't play in the 2019 Women's World Cup. And what a year she has had with her Houston Dash in WSL.
Yeah, and for her to make the Olympic roster is such the feel-good story. Well, those two do pretty well together, don't they? One set up a goal for the other to open the scoring on Thursday.
First sister-to-sister combo. That was a nice one to see.
Becky Sauber heading to her 3rd Olympics. It's always interesting to hear Becky talk about Vlatko Andonovski because there's such a long connection to the US coach, played for him at club level too. And said he is now a little harder, a little more demanding than he was in his early days coaching with FC Kansas City. They were very successful, Julia. They won 2 NWSL championships.
Yeah, when you look at the numbers that Vlatko has produced in his tenure with the national team, hasn't lost a game in his 22 games, only 1 draw. That was to Sweden in April. 75 goals for, only allowed 4 under his tenure. They've only allowed 1 goal, and that was to Sweden this entire calendar year.
Yeah. Rose Lavelle trying to add to her tally, and decent parry behind by Itzel Gonzalez. Lavelle with the left-footed curler.
So much space and time for the United States in different areas of the field that this is just going to get away from them, Mexico, unless they can get more pressure on the ball.
Press with the corner. Now O'Hara, a little seam for Lavelle to operate in. Well, she tried to beat Gonzalez at the near post. Had the target to aim for, but not quite the execution. As you can see, 4 in her last 17.
I do think, though, they'll be pleased with the seams that those two number 10s, the double number 10s, Rose and Sam, are getting into. Both having success getting through, just that final product not there with the finishing.
Rose Lavelle is now with OL Reign in the NWSL. Press. And nobody is more in form in terms of goal scoring both for herself and setting up others than Kristen Press at the moment, Julie. She's had a terrific couple of years.
Well, I actually said to Vlatko Andonovski, what do you do with Tobin Heath back healthy again? And if she's in that starting lineup, who does she come in for? You got Rapinoe on one side, Press on the other. And he said, I gotta feed the beast. Press is scoring goals. I gotta give her the ball. We gotta ride that wave. So Rapinoe not getting the start tonight for Heath. She's on limited minutes. Tobin Heath just coming back, of course. So 30 to 45 is thought they were going to get. We're already 34 in.
This Press surging through territory and a lot of space and time for O'Hara. She didn't make the most of it in the end. Press again involved in everything. Now then, Euro 2020 will reach a conclusion on Sunday. We will have the final. Remember, it's the winner of Italy-Spain taking on the winner of England-Denmark. All games at Wembley Stadium from here on in. Sunday at 3 Eastern, noon Pacific on ESPN and the app. That's a good takeaway by Stephanie Mayor, who's on her way. Palacios in support. And now Gonzalez, back to Mayor. Good turn. And a follow-up shot which deflects comfortably right at Alyssa Naya.
And those are going to be the looks that Mexico's getting. Regaining possession in the counter.
Monica Vergara, who played in the 1999 World Cup, Julie. I don't know if you remember. She was only 16 at the time.
She was a baby. Played in the 2004 Olympics as well. Great to see a woman at the helm as well for Mexico and see that country, especially with their Women's Pro League.
Tobin Heath, another long-range effort. It's back off the bar, and Kristen Press forces it home. She's not going to be denied this time. Her red-hot scoring streak continues. But it was Tobin Heath who made it happen with another shot from long range.
About the distance, she was out when she scored that goal on the first in her game back against Mexico. Strikes this one so well with her left foot, and Press does well to follow that one. Always looking for this. Catches Gonzalez just a little bit off her line and says, why not? Well, and when you're Tobin Heath, you can do that.
It may ultimately go down as an own goal if they're going to be applying the letter of the law. Actually cannoned it off Reina Reyes' hand in the end, so I'm not sure it will actually go down as Press's goal, but you have to marvel at Tobin Heath's ambition, and not just ambition, ability to pull it off. It's a great save, actually, to be fair to Itzel, to deny her, tip it onto the bar. But Press's presence enough to force it home.
Speaking of presence, just having Tobin back on the field, that presence for the team, the confidence boost it gives them, as you said earlier, Adrian, going into her 4th Olympics. And when she scored in that last game and essentially her first touch, Alex Morgan told me she's never felt more joy for any goal she scored than she did in that moment for Tobin Heath. She said, I was more excited for her than anything I've ever done in terms of scoring. And that just tells you how happy they are to see her back.
That was some statement, wasn't it, given the amount of goals and big goals that Alex Morgan has been involved in. Now, steering it away is Mewis and Tobin Heath. There it is. She is back with a vengeance. Calm as you like with the left-footed finish.
And here you just see a tired Mexico team in their second game in 5 days in the heat. Mewis picking up that ball and so unselfishly playing it and laying it off. She could have taken herself. Draws 2-3 defenders, and Tobin Heath's so pretty with that left foot. Doesn't need a lot of power, just needs to place it into the side netting.
Well, only took her 52 seconds on Thursday. Took her a little longer tonight, 39 minutes. But it is goal number 35 for her. And she just, Julie, brings something completely different to the table, doesn't she?
Yep. And the thing that you always are wondering after that much time off is just the movement, the sharpness. And to see her this sharp, mind you, this isn't an Olympic caliber team they're playing right now. Mexico still growing and still building with a young squad out there. But look at that strike. She knows, I don't need to hit it with a lot of pace. I'm just going to place this gently into that left side.
Well, all those months of hard work with their team of physicians in LA have come to fruition and paid off. Done, prepared to chase it down.
Abby Dahlkemper so good on that crossfield switch. Saw her do it earlier to press, a wide open press. She can hit that 50, 60-yard ball with precision, breaks open defenses.
Certainly pinpoint passing from Dahlkemper, who's in a break between the summer series and this send-off series. Most players went back to their clubs. Of course, she didn't have a club to go back to, so she's in Austin with Aaron Schoenfeld and was training with the Austin Academy team. Send-off series with the US women departing for Tokyo in just about 48 hours time. They will stay together on the East Coast and leave directly for the Olympics. They'll have a team training camp in southern Japan for a few days before making their way up towards Tokyo. Foul eventually given against Lindsay Horan. Coming up at the halftime interval, our halftime report, we'll look at the US Olympic roster. Julie had a chance to talk to Vlatko Andonovski as well, and we'll break down all the first half highlights. Sweden, New Zealand and Australia. Julie, it's an interesting group. And really, what makes it even more interesting for me is the fact they have to play Sweden first.
Right.
Game on July 21st.
And we were talking earlier, Adrian, of the 4 goals they've given up under Vlatko Andonovski, 3 of them coming against Sweden. Really the team that's presented the most challenges, and the only draw in there, that 1-1 draw, as we mentioned earlier, in April. And honestly, that was a game the U.S. were lucky to draw because
that was in Stockholm, wasn't it?
Penalty kick given. I believe it was on Kelly O'Hara. She was just outside the box. She actually wasn't in the box, but they gave it as a penalty kick. Pino finished it, as she always does. And they walked out of there with a draw, but that was a very good Sweden team. The U.S. knows that.
Yeah, that was the game that brought up 300 caps for Carly Lloyd. Carly Lloyd amongst the goal scorers here in this first half.
On top of that, you have the 2016 residual effect of Sweden knocking them out of the Olympics, something that's not easy to swallow to this day for many of them.
Yeah, that exit via a penalty shootout in the quarterfinals in Rio. It leaves the US still looking to win the Olympics for the first time while they're defending World Cup champions. It's still remarkable it hasn't happened. This is an opportunity to put that right in Tokyo. That's a lovely turn by Lavelle. She is so silky smooth. And she gets in a groove like that. Just leaves midfielders, defenders trailing in her wake.
So impressive how she gets out of those tight spaces. 1-on-1, you could tell right before the half. She's just not going to get it today.
Well, there was only about 2 minutes and 13 seconds between the goals number 3 and 4 for the US as Vlatko Andonovski's side pulled away at Mexico. Well and truly in the comfort zone here in the final of the send-off series. 4-0 ahead of Mexico. Stay with us, we'll hear from Andonovski at halftime. Welcome back, everyone. This is the scene at Pratt & Whitney Stadium in East Hartford. The US in their send-off game well in front. 4 goals to the good against Mexico with Tokyo as the next stop. And a history of Olympic successes for the US that started in 1996, Julie. Remember it well. Good in Atlanta.
Times. Remember
Athens,
that one?
Yeah, gold medal against Brazil. Beijing also winning gold, as they did 4 years later, beating Japan in that final. Tokyo with the first game beginning July 21st, actually 2 days before the opening ceremony of the game. So a little earlier on, Julie caught up with head coach Vlatko Andonovski.
Vlatko, the success of the U.S. women at the Olympics is well documented. And with that success, of course, comes a lot of expectations. What is the pressure like for you heading into your first major tournament?
Obviously, we know what the expectations are for this team, and I knew it coming into this job. And the expectations are not different than playing the game tonight or the very first game that I had. Every time we step on the field, we're expected to win. We're expected to win in a good fashion, and I don't think these expectations will change even in times after me.
And when you have that first game, though, at the Olympics is against Sweden, the only team that has drawn against the United States in your 22-game tenure, what emotions will be running going into that game, given they are the team that, of course, knocked the U.S. out of the Olympics in 2016?
Obviously, with information that you just provided, it shows how good Sweden is, and we're very well aware of their quality as a team. We know what it means to face them in the first game, and we'll do anything possible to overcome the challenge and set the pace for the rest of the Olympics.
Big news recently: 22 players now allowed on the roster. 18, of course, will dress for each game, but that was a big decision by the IOC to expand that roster. What does that mean in terms of how you approach the games, Vlatko?
I think that's good for us. I'm happy for that because it gives us a little more flexibility in the approach when we choose the roster, and we know that we have quality players. We have quality 22 players, and every single one of them is capable of stepping up and doing their part.
Well, talking of that roster, Julie, talk us through the at least what was the initial 18 before the change for the IOC.
Mayer and France playing so well with Portland Thorns getting the nod there. And then you're seeing some youth in Tierna Davidson, 22 years old, youngest on the team, making it into that back line. 6 of the back line getting called on, 5 in midfield, and of course, Christy Mewis, the one that everyone was looking to. Would she make it into that 5? She did do that. 30-year-old Sam's sister. And up front, Tobin Heath getting the nod. No questions for her that she recovered from that injury, and boy, is she playing well right now.
And then, of course, the news breaking just earlier this week that the roster can now include 22 players, only 18 dressing for each individual game. Volkswagen, as we look down at Pratt & Whitney Stadium in East Hartford. US leading Mexico by 4-0. Coming up tomorrow and Wednesday, the 2 Euro 2020 semi-finals. 2 great games in prospect. Italy and Spain Tuesday at 2:30. England and Denmark on Wednesday. Both of those games from Wembley. Adrian Healy and Julie Foudy with you. Julie, on the cusp of another big international tournament. I guess you couldn't have asked for a more perfect first 45 minutes for the US.
It is going to be a fantastic send-off for them. And I think they're going to be most pleased with all the variety in the ways they scored. A regain, a press, a cross to a header. You know, Carly Lloyd finding Lindsay Horan on this first one. And this is when they were playing with that double 9, pressing 3-3-4, perfectly positioned in that opening 5 minutes to score, and then done on the left side, fighting a wide open Carly Lloyd on the back post. And here's the press, they win it, they get it back. Mewis with the sequence, and you want it on the foot of this player, Tobin Heath, because good things happen. Press there for the putback, that actually comes off of Reyes for the own goal, a little bit unlucky for press. But again, Sam Mewis with the press and the pressure, slips a ball in unselfishly to Tobin Heath, and what a first half for the United States.
What a variety of goals too, and look who might be still to come as well in the second half. We'll be right back. Of US Soccer is recognizing Courtney as tonight's game ambassador. She's also very much part of our ESPN family and works just
Way to go, Courtney!
15 miles down the road in Bristol, place where you've been a lot recently, Julie. Been enjoying your work on Euro 2020.
Thank you, lots of fun.
A couple of big days still to come. And a big day here for the US as they will literally be on their way to Tokyo in the hours that follow this game. The substitutions that have been made by Vlatko Andonovski at halftime. Alex Morgan coming on for Carly Lloyd. Megan Rapinoe is on for Tobin Heath. And Christy Mewis is on to join her sister. She replaces Rose Lavelle.
Again, the embarrassment of riches that is the United States women's national team in terms of the depth of this team. Will be their greatest strength, I think, going into this Olympics with the tightened timeline, the heat and humidity.
Rapinoe immediately on the scene. Yeah, Vlatko Andonovski has been stressing, hasn't he, that it is going to be a team effort. It's going to require contributions from all 18. Who knows, perhaps all 22 players that are going to be there. That's a header just wide of the target from press. One of his interesting conundrums, how to manage this squad, how to keep everyone happy. Some big names, Julie, some big personalities.
Yeah, but I also think with that experience, you realize, you know, for a Megan Rapinoe in her mid-30s, you don't want to be playing 6 games, 90 minutes.
Right.
As much as you want to be helping the team, that you know that's not realistic. So I do think that with that experience comes some wisdom of, okay, I'm going to have my role to play and I'm going to get my minutes.
Yeah, Blanco saying if we're going to win it, we win it together. They know it's a grind. Everyone is going to have a role. And I think he said it was actually the selection of the 4 alternates that proved to be the biggest headache.
And I'm sure they had in mind the fact that that ruling was probably going to change.
Yeah. Must have had an inkling. Here's Rapinoe. And of course she will want to make her mark on the Tokyo Olympics after her experience in Rio. Remember, she was the one trying to recover from an injury 5 years ago, and Jill Ellis brought her, and it didn't really work out positively for the US.
No, had to bring her back out after subbing her in. You know, that was recovering from an ACL with a tight turn. I do think that year off with COVID actually helped, even though obviously you get a 39-year-old Carly Lloyd going into the Olympics. I think Carly Lloyd would even argue, I think it helped her because they feel more rested.
Yeah.
It's a tight turn, as we all know, going from World Cups, especially when you win it, to the Olympics the very next year. There's no rest or recovery, and you're not just physically fatigued, you're mentally exhausted.
That gives, of course, Alex Morgan a chance to be very much involved. She's out there now, looking to score what would be her 4th goal as a mother. The Olympics happened a year ago, Julie. Not even Morgan would have been able to make it, I don't think.
No, that would have been very tight. Although, as I've learned, never bet against these women.
No, never bet against them. Seemingly
never was.
She's been in fantastic form domestically with her club side, the Orlando Pride. She was the NCWL Player of the Month in May, Alex Morgan. She turned 32 on Friday. Megan Rapinoe turns 36 today. It is her birthday. You might have heard the crowd serenading her while she was warming up. And she produced a present. Oh, it wasn't that far away. Wasn't that far away at all.
Oh, she was thinking, can I just get enough on this to sneak it up and over? Almost did just that. How many times have we seen her actually hit that? That is so close.
Yep. She skimmed off the crossbar, didn't it? Enough to prompt the happy birthday serenading to start up again. Sauerbrunn and Dahlkemper.
As if on cue,
right.
Adrian. They must have heard you in the stadium.
Well, meanwhile, it's Mayor trying to orchestrate a counterattack for Mexico. That's Gonzalez who's down. Rapinoe trying to force it through to Alex Morgan. As I mentioned, the 9th time the US women have been here in East Hartford since it opened up in the early 2000s. There's actually only 3 stadiums in the country they've been to more in the intervening years, which many would find a little surprising, but Carson in LA and Houston and Frisco in Texas. The only stadiums this team has played more in over the last decade and a half. It's a big crowd that has responded to them coming, playing for the 2nd time in 4 nights against the same opponents. Same scoreline as it stands at the moment. Mexico, through the industry of Maria Sanchez, have earned a corner.
Sanchez, graduate, Santa Clara University. Also got a brief spell with the Dash Red Stars, and she has been the one that has most impressed me in this series.
Yeah, most of the good work for La Tri has come down their left, hasn't it? That's where they have the corner now. And an open header. That was Rebecca Bernal. Couldn't keep it down. Talked about Alex being a mum, and the goal she scored as a mum. There's Charlie.
Aww, look at Charlie. Her daughter, so cute.
Just over a year old now, born May the 7th last year. So that's how much the extra year has helped Alex Morgan out.
No family allowed in Tokyo, and so they got a chance. Not all family, but a lot of them here cheering them on this send-off, and it's their last chance to see him before they take off. That's got to be so weird for the players.
Yeah.
That's such a huge boost when you're gone for a month. Just even if it's 20 minutes after a game, an hour after a game. Understandable, but it's going to be a lot different over there with minimal fans as well.
Yeah, no family members, foreign spectators excluded completely from Tokyo, and even limits on domestic crowds. So I think they're making the most of tonight. This will be the last big crowd they will see for a while. And that's what everyone wants. All eyes on that prize.
Again, another opportunity to fine-tune set pieces, corner kicks, everything they're working on right now are plays they've worked on.
Nicely done. Oh, it's fist across. Kristen Press operating on the right now, just putting everything into that cross.
And you can see how choreographed that is. O'Hara coming out, playing that seam ball in.
Now it's Rapinoe looking to provide the service near post.
Yeah, I spy
There's
Kate Markgraf.
Yeah.
Ernie Stewart.
There's a few 99ers in the house tonight with you, Julie. Kate
I
Markgraf.
know. Christine Lilly is down below me right now. Go on, Kate. I know you can hear us. Give us a wave.
She did sterling work in our fields, Julie, for many years before taking on the big job.
I know. I miss her. I know
do
that's
too.
selfish. She's doing a great job with the U.S. women's team, but I do miss her.
A couple of substitutions while we're looking at those two. For Mexico, as the shot is relatively comfortable for Gonzalez. Daniela Espinosa is one of those who's come on. Karina Rodriguez is the other, so a change at centre back. Mexico, another with US collegiate ties. Karina Rodriguez from UCLA, actually played for the US at youth levels, U17 and U20, before she made the switch.
Great career at UCLA. Fun to watch. She wears number 3 for Mexico. That
Heritage has joined the Washington Spirit as well in the NWSL.
It's worth repeating, too, when you look at this Mexico team and how much they're outpaced. And it's a 23-year-old average age roster.
Yeah.
And this is a building period, of course, for Monica Vergara. Only her 7th game at the helm for Mexico. And I do like that they're not just sitting in a bunker in a low block, holding on. I do like that they're trying things. And they're trying to play. And they're willing to do this. This is the time you've got to get better and grow. And we've seen the advancements they've made with their women's professional league, Liga MX, in Mexico, and the great things they're doing down there, the crowds they're getting. So I am hopeful that this country and federation is going to make a big mark on the women's side in the near future.
Yeah, absolutely, Julie. Liga MX Femenil officially launched in 2017. And you mentioned those crowds. They had a Tigres against Chivas two-legged final. They had crowds of 11 and 14,000 in for those games.
Yeah, and it's thumping crowds when you see it. It's great to see.
Yeah, for them, it's all about the next World Cup, 2023, at which CONCACAF will have 4 spots. And look at the rankings. They are 3rd in CONCACAF at the moment, behind the US and Canada. Canada number 8 in the world, Mexico 28. Talking of those rankings, to go back to the Olympics, Julie, what the US won't have are the likes of France and Germany to face. Talking of the top teams in the world.
It's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah. There's a fairly spicy challenge from Reina Reyes, who has a yellow card to go with her own goal in the first half.
I think that's a little frustration, yes. And really unnecessary, given the magnitude of this game right before they leave.
Yeah, it's Christy Mewis who is on the receiving end. Now, Megan Rapinoe pacing out the free kick. Itzel Gonzalez desperately getting in the defensive instructions. Oh, a nice bit of subterfuge there by Rapinoe. It didn't quite come off, but she caught everyone in this stadium out with that. You can hear her laughing. Laughing is permitted with the Julie Foudy
look at that
podcast.
Timing. That's so good.
Season 5 already, Julie? How does that happen? How have we got to season 5?
I know. We're on hiatus in between, but season 5 is in the books. Check it out. It's good stuff.
Yeah.
Those two laughing at each other was just made my night because Becky Sauerbrunn was creeping on that near side. Going, come on now, play me the ball in. And Pino did, in fact, just a little too hard for Becky's pace.
Just to go back to that podcast, how many guests, Julie?
We do 10 a season.
Yeah.
So we're in our 5th season, so we've had over 50 guests, all women. I'm sorry, Adrian, we haven't had you or a man on yet. But we will one day. Who knows? Will we? Maybe not. Who needs the men?
Don't need us to laugh.
What am I saying? I don't care.
You don't need us for laughter.
No, I did threaten, gosh, if I did have my first male, it would be Ted Lasso, and first 2 males, Coach Beard. That roster rollout was the best ever.
I think you need to stick to that.
Oh, God, I love that series. I can't wait for season 2 of Ted Lasso.
Hey. Well, it's going to come out while you're in Japan covering the Olympics. I'm sure you've realized that.
Doing some binging over there.
Yeah. July 21st, the date for the US against Sweden. A lot of eyes will be on that game albeit at an early hour in the morning, given the time difference. Game that has to be played a couple of days before the opening ceremony of the games themselves. It's really interesting, Julie, comparing this squad and looking back to the one that went to Rio and fell in the quarterfinal stage in 2016.
We're going to do that, huh?
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Because, you know, it's actually quite different. It's of the 6 defenders going, only Vicky Sauerbrunn and Kelly O'Hara are on that defense 4 years ago. Start with that. Of course, goalkeeper has changed as well. That was Hope Solo's final appearances. Alyssa Nair was a keeper who only had 7 caps at that stage.
Yeah, when you compare that to 80 French right now, 6 caps.
Yep.
A lot of people saying, gosh, your backup keeper only has 6. Well, Nair only had 7 going back to that one. Yeah, and you had Rapinoe in midfield, Tobin Heath in midfield. They were playing a 4-4-2. Carly Lloyd in midfield. All of those have been pushed up.
Yeah. It's an interesting moving forward of various pieces. Julia Ertz went as a defender 5 years ago, will be going as a midfielder.
Yeah, I hadn't realized there had been that much turnover, because you look at that 2019 team, only 1 player on this 18 roster, and Christy Mewis wasn't part of that 19 team.
Yeah. It's interesting though, Heath, as you say, Rapinoe and Lloyd all have moved further forward.
That happens with age sometimes. Ertz was a center back. She's moved further forward. Little bit of a lull in this second half for the U.S. And I do think there's going to be moments, obviously pressing a lot in that first half defensively for the United States. I just think with the heat and humidity and 2 days rest in between games, you've got to pick your moments. And you also got to learn to play with a little bit of patience, because we have been known as a country to want to go, 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 go. And I think that's the sophistication of this group, to say, no, we don't have to go all the time. Pick your moments, be more patient, hold the ball, make the team chase.
That's time for Latry to freshen things up a little bit. Caddy Martinez coming in to replace Kiana Palacios, and Reyes making way for Bianca Sierra. Bianca Sierra, as you mentioned, actually amongst the senior members of the squad at the age of 29. Mewis, lovely cut back for Rapinoe, and Sierra immediately involved. Applying the pressure on Rapinoe, but the cost of this corner. Looks like the offside flag had come up.
And even though a little bit, as I was saying, a lull, you still have Alex Morgan and Megan Rapinoe and Press as your front three. They're going to want to get one in this half. They're not going to want to walk away from this second half with it still being 4-0. And especially with Morgan in that July 1st game, the first game against Mexico, unlucky not to get one. Hit a post, made some good runs.
Yep. Making the run here is Stephanie Mayor. It's good tracking back though. Christy Mewis. Now Alex Morgan prepared to chase, but Karina Rodriguez had the head start.
Good pressure by Alex Morgan. A couple of those goals in the first Mexico came from the pressure of Alex Morgan defensively, and that worked.
Some more changes coming for Vlatko Andonovski. You can see Katarina Makaria come on. And Emily Sonnet as well. Sonnet replacing Don. Makaria replacing Samantha Mewis. So the sisters were only out there together for a few minutes. To be continued in Tokyo. Rapinoe forced to go the long way around. Sauber. Oran delivering the cross. The lopsided nature of this series is going to continue for sure.
Yeah, and I also think one of the other scenarios that Vlatko wanted to get to is speaking of lopsided, 4-0 up, and he's going to drop into a 5-4-1 as if you're holding on to a 1-0 lead. And whether that's the last 5, the last 7 minutes, that's another scenario he wanted to work out. Started the game in that 3-3-4.
Trying to replicate different scenarios that may crop up on the road through the Olympic tournament. This ball targeting Caddy Martinez. Well, so far, Mexico have been able to restrict further damage. Alex Morgan on the chase. If you're Ted Lasso, Julie, you see that celebration Alex Morgan came up with in the NWSL. It was a Ted Lasso inspired tiptoeing, hands towards feet, then up to the sky, give me the ball. Minutes to go, still 4-0 as it was on Thursday night. Lots of fresh legs out there at the moment for both teams. Here's one of those players, Emily Sonnet. Worked it down the line for Rapinoe. Haran.
Just not as sharp in the second half, are they? Rapinoe in that final pass, just missing. And I think that's one of the challenges, of course, is when you're up 4-0. That's the internal challenge, is keep it sharp.
Now Morgan trying to do just that. That was a little better, but the offside flag would have spoiled it.
Just tiptoeing on that line. I think that's a good call.
Yeah.
Shoulder off.
A rather better call than the offside. Give it in the first half, I think we could say. You're so right, Alex Morgan. His competitive urges, she's going to want to score. Katarina Makaria winning just her 7th cap. been so spectacular, hasn't she, at club level?
Yeah, and I just feel she got a bit unlucky with some of the situations that occurred with club level. COVID hitting, so she missed the April window. March, where they had Shibboleths, February, March. She had to go back early to Lyon with Caterina Macario. But I do think with that roster and that decision to change, obviously that changes the dynamic so much of this roster. You can only dress 18, but you can pick from any of those 22. And I think it's the right move too, Adrian. Yep. You see the Euros, they've gone from a 23 roster to 26, allowing that flexibility. 18 players for 6 games in 17 days is not right.
Yeah.
Especially given all that we're living through.
And there's a look up in the boxes here. Some of those alternates looking on as Morgan gets around the back. And Itzel Gonzalez to deny her. Well, she hit the post here on Thursday night, Alex Morgan. Looking to add to her 110 goals for the national team. Iran still in the thick of the action. Regan Rapinoe trying to fend off one challenge and take the ball with her. Rapinoe did well. Couldn't generate any real menace though with the shot.
Fighting that player off. Almost catches one in between her legs, just not enough on it. Easy for Gonzalez in the end. Good save though on Alex Morgan, and Gonzalez coming off her line.
Lindsay Horan, who only made 2 appearances in the ill-fated 2016 campaign in Rio. Imagine that total will be much higher in Tokyo. It's a lovely return pass from Rapinoe. Becky Sauerbrunn opening things up for Sonnet. Cross dealt with by Gonzalez. And then Rapinoe snapping in to win it back. Final quarter of an hour in front of a big, colourful, noisy, festive crowd here in East Hartford. Send-off series ending in style, and it's ended with a record 27,758, largest crowd in the state for a US Women's National Team game. Clever work from Sonnet. No one patrolling the near post though.
Busy on that left side though, Emily Sonnet.
Yeah, really. Great footwork, tight control from the left back. Well, it won't quite be the same without him, will it, in Tokyo? Kristen Press is still out there looking to continue her recent torrid run for both goals and assists. Good anticipation to win it back, and now Rapinoe has seen a lot of the ball. In towards Alex Morgan, who won the header in between 2 defenders. ESPN's coverage of US soccer is presented by the all-new, all-electric Volkswagen ID4. Adrian Healy, Julie Foudy with you.
I do think the U.S. will look at this game and be super pleased with that first half and the 4 goals and the variety of the goals. But I do think they're going to look at the second half and go, yeah, we could have been a lot sharper. I mean, this is when they're fine-tuning. These are the details needed because they just know when it comes to the Olympics, when you're playing opponents like Sweden and Australia and you're facing a really tough road at every game, that you just have to be so good in the little things. Tobin, he said, you know, it's not so much a big speech I'm giving to players. It's about how they act and most importantly react to situations. And it's so true. It's all those little things. So I think they'll look at this and say, could have been sharper definitely in this second half.
But as you mentioned, Julie, sometimes psychologically it's a tough thing to do when you're 4-0 up and
exactly.
Sailing.
And you in the back of your mind you're thinking, I just want to get out of here healthy, right? I want to get to the Olympics and be able to play. So you're also weighing that in the back of your mind. You're not going into tackles quite as hard.
Well, there is going to be another switch, and it is Lindsey Horan who's never stopped running from the word go here today. Well, she opened the scoring with that beautifully taken volley. Limping off the field a little after that last challenge.
See, she doesn't look happy about it as well.
Yes. Challenge of the knee-knocking variety, wouldn't it? Knee on knee.
She put in a shift today.
Certainly did. Very impressive. She was absolutely everywhere.
Put that first goal on a reel, please.
Yep.
Run it over and over again.
So Tiana Davidson is on.
So with that Tiana Davidson sub, this is that 5-4-1 scenario. You can see that with the wide shot there. As if they're protecting a 1-goal lead with 10 minutes to go. This is the scenario Vlatko Andonovski wants to play out. So those at home wondering why in the heck is he going to a 5-back? Now you know.
Protecting, bunkering in and protecting that 4-0 lead. Well, they've got a corner to think about.
Again, an opportunity to try and fine-tune.
The little details that can make so much difference when it's all on the line. Corner for Latry. It's well worked. They found themselves a better angle, but Maria Sanchez then overhit the cross. While we have a moment, I can tell you our next MLS game on ESPN is coming up on Saturday, July the 17th. Eastern Conference matchup between the first place New England Revolution and Atlanta United. That's a 5 Eastern start time on July 17th. A little ice on that ailing knee for Lindsey Horan. Nothing out of the ordinary there.
Pino dropping into midfield, press dropping in. Alex, the lone striker. I will say this has got to be really hard for the United States. 1, because it's 4-0. 2, because you have a team that's not going to be pressing forward for a goal. But 3, 5-4-1 is not a formation that the U.S. is really... It's not ingrained in our DNA to do this much. But obviously, it serves a point when you're trying to lock it in these final closing minutes. If you were holding on to a tight lead in a tight game.
Yeah, so take a picture of this. You may not see this too often, but it's by design. Vlatko Andonovski had it in mind to do just this, whatever the scoreline.
I mean, the challenge when you sit into this 5-4-1 is you don't want to get yourself too deep and too conservative. And I'm sure this is something he will be working on as well, because then you get yourself in a world of hurt when teams are just coming down your throat over and over again.
Well, he's about to go to a record of having won 22 of his first 23 games in charge, and the only blemish, that 1-1 draw against Sweden. And if they keep a clean sheet here, Julie, which are just 7 minutes away from doing again, it will be only 4 goals conceded in his first 23 games, but 3 of those have come from Sweden, who just happen to be
that is going to be
up.
Such a test, that first game. For people who think the U.S. is sailing through this group, it's going to be a great, great game. All 3 of those teams, honestly.
Yeah.
And so interestingly, because, of course, Sweden, the history they have with the United States in every World Championship, always going through them. And then New Zealand with Tommy Sermanni, former U.S. women's coach, now coaching the New Zealand team.
Yeah.
And then Australians' new head coach, Tony Gustafsson, who's Pia's assistant, Jill Ellis's assistant on the U.S. team. Lots of connections.
Yeah. So lots of opponents with a lot of knowledge about what the U.S. do.
I actually talked to Tony last week and said, could you have predicted this?
Right.
This group? He goes, oh, I did. In fact, I texted the group and said, you know who we're getting. We're getting the U.S., of course. And then we're going to get New Zealand, of course.
Yeah.
And then we're going to get Sweden, because that's where I'm from. And he has all these ties to Sweden, of course. That's where he was coaching.
Meanwhile, his Mewis, Macario, has 2 to contend with. But it is just, you can't stress it enough how different it is. And Julie, you've gone through this as a player, how different an Olympic tournament is to a World Cup, how much more condensed the whole schedule is. What could be 6 games in 17 days, precious little downtime. And in some pretty trying conditions as well, you imagine.
Yeah. I mean, you looked at the 2019 schedule. They had 3 or 4 days off between every game, and they were the last team to go out.
Yeah.
Of their group, so they had the least amount of rest, and they still had 3 or 4 between every game. So it is quite a difference, but they know this grind, these U.S. players.
That's what the summer series last month down in Texas, and this send-off series has been designed to try and replicate. The games coming very quickly together, some hot conditions too. Five minutes to go. And Pratt and Whitney. And the official attendance is just being announced here. And they had 21,000 turn up here on Thursday night in a driving rainstorm.
I know. Big shout out to this Northeast fan base. 2 games in a row in the same spot because of COVID, the bubble, and they rocked it on both occasions.
Yep. As I said, it's almost become a home away from home for the women here on the East Coast. There's Macario.
I think Mexico's going to be ecstatic they got out of here with just 4.
Yeah, it looked like it could get out of hand, didn't it?
Yes, it did.
There was that point midway through the first half where it seemed like it was going to be down damage that was a lot worse for them. A couple of late changes. Dania Garcia coming on to place Nancy Antonio. And Dania Perez also into the fold.
So many positives if you're this U.S. team to take away as you head over to Tokyo. Tobin Heath back in the mix after 6 months out. Alex Morgan playing really well, even though she didn't score a goal in these last 2 send-off games. Not yet. Christy Mewis sliding in. The depth of this team. The things they've been able to fine-tune in these last 5 games, including that summer series and the Heat.
A little dummy there from Mewis after great work from Sonnet again.
Looking promising for Julie Ertz to be back in the mix soon. You got 45 minutes out of Heath and Rose Lavelle, 2 of your most creative players. So all these things, they're going to be tying together.
Well, that's going to be really interesting to see how Vlatko handles the reintroduction of Julie Ertz. For so long, Julie, she was almost the first name on the team sheet.
Right.
Dahlkemper. They are being given a rousing send-off here. The Hartford crowd will be going home happy. The US will be boarding a plane to Tokyo in the next couple of days. What will they be returning with is the question. And there it is, right on 90 minutes. The send-off series complete. Final thoughts, Julie, as they head off to Tokyo?
8 goals and 2 clean sheets. That's a good way to go. Wish them the best of luck.
Away they go. Final score here. The US 4, Mexico 0. Join us on ESPN 3 for the post-match send-off celebrations. For Julie Foudy and our crew, I'm Adrian Healy. Goodbye for now.